Hello everyone, my name is Ken Garofalo and welcome back to Crypto Live Leak. We are here live at Delta Summit 2019 in Malta, and we have the pleasure of speaking with the actual event organizer, Dr. Abdalla Kablan. How are you doing today?
Hey Ken, how are you doing? And thank you so much for being with us here.
Hey, it's our pleasure. We traveled halfway across the world to be here and we are super impressed with the layout so far.
Thank you. We're honored to have you with us, and seeing people flying halfway across the world to just be with us makes us really want to impress you guys a bit more, and makes it's validation enough for the efforts that we're putting into making the industry bigger and better. So
yeah, and absolutely, we really appreciate what you're doing. And so let's start off. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So basically, I'm a technologist. I'm not really an event organizer.
Okay.
My background is in artificial intelligence and machine learning. Throughout my career, I founded a number of companies that have utilized AI machine learning in fintech. I'm also an academic, so I lecture and research topics ranging from deep learning, algo trading, and principles of blockchain technology. I also wear a number of other hats. I'm one of the directors of the Malta Stock Exchange, where I chair the blockchain committee in there. And I've also advised the government of Malta on setting up the regulatory framework for digital innovation, starting with blockchain last year. And this year I'm a member of the task force that is drafting the AI strategy. So I'm a bit busy with tech.
Yeah, it seems like you're involved in almost every aspect of it here. And so you've been a resident of Malta your entire life. Was Malta always a technology hub and innovator? Or how has the evolution happened as you've grown here living in Malta?
So, Malta was no different than many other countries in the region. I mean, the population is tech savvy. Everyone knows how to use technology. Sorry, the population is quite young as well, so technology adoption is quite fast. But in terms of research and development, we've always had very good ICT faculty at the University of Malta here, which is the main university, and we had a market that always absorbed those students here. However, from a regulatory standpoint, it was not until 2-3 years ago where the government took the very brave decision to actually make sure that we can come up with a regulatory framework that protects the consumers, the investors, without stifling innovation at the same time, in order for it to attract talent, projects and investors to come here to Malta. And that formula worked quite well, because since then Malta has started evolving quite rapidly into a tech hub, because people started gravitating towards Malta because of the legal certainty that these laws have kind of provided. It was quite strategic for us to start from blockchain, because it was all the rave and hype last year and the year before. But the vision and the plan from day one was to have a holistic digital innovation movement happening here in Malta that would also cover AI, IoT, quantum computing, games development, space, as we'll see in some of the talks here, which might sound funny given how small we are. But we believe that in the digital space, your size or your physical size is not a limitation anymore. So we want to overcome that historic limitation of ours, which is size, and we have a very good chance at doing that by implementing the right regulation and attracting the people to develop great applications around the good regulation that we're creating.
And so were you an integral part of this 2 to 3 year ago expansion phase into the innovation side with the local government? Were you at the forefront of this, pushing it forward?
It's always been a collective team effort. Everyone has done their part. Personally, I've been pushing for this for a number of years through various initiatives. We're quite blessed and lucky here in Malta, because we have a very forward-thinking government. We have an open door policy where if you have something interesting to say, people will listen to you, and execution does not take that long. So if you're making sense, there is no reason why people would not take you seriously. And that's why we're lucky, because the government was quite clear when it went on record around 2.5-3 years ago, said we want to be trailblazers in this space. And that was mainly because they were receiving feedback from technologists like myself and others that were saying, listen, we don't have many resources in this country, but our main resource is us. So other than the sunshine that God blessed us with for tourism and a number of other services that we have, our main resource is people, and why don't we attract even more people? Why don't we turn Malta into an innovation center where we can produce technology, where we can produce research, we can produce science, and we can actually attract investors to invest into it. And the government listened, and this is a part of that whole process, basically.
And it's certainly working. You see a number of companies relocating their headquarters to Malta, such as the partner here for the Delta Summit 2019 is it OKX.
Yes.
They actually have a business headquartered in Malta. Is that correct?
Yes, a number of companies have decided to move to Malta. OKX is one of them and a shining example. Other companies are actually thinking about moving to Malta or exploring moving to Malta. They're speaking to the regulators. We're probably the only event in the world where all the regulators who are stakeholders in the tech space are actually exhibiting alongside the businesses.
Right.
We have the MFSA, which is the Malta Financial Services Authority. You have the Digital Innovation Authority. You have the Communications Authority. You have the Information Technology Agency. We have the Gaming Authority as well that is exhibiting here. So, government is actually interacting with the businesses alongside with them, which gives a lot of comfort to for the businesses to explore and think about coming and moving here to Malta.
I actually spoke to a resident of Malta at a conference I was at last week, and they were telling me that even the smallest of local blockchain meetups, you might actually see a member of parliament attending. I just couldn't fathom that. Being from America, I would never see a government official come to one of our meetups, but here, they're on the forefront. They want to know what the community is doing, and then they want to cater to those needs.
Absolutely. I mean, like our junior minister, Silvio Schembri, has been quite active with the community. I mean, he goes to these gatherings, these meetups, his door is always open. People go and just book an appointment and go and present their projects to him. The Prime Minister himself, whenever his time allows, actually opens his doors and meets with companies and projects. So it's quite interesting. I mean, we had a number of officials here today, and regulators are just going around the stands, speaking to them, listening to what they want, and we're very approachable. So our size is a blessing in this case because we're agile, we're nimble, can take decisions quite quickly, and it's very easy to get all the stakeholders around the table pretty quickly.
And let's talk more about the actual Delta Summit itself. So last year you had, was it about 5,000 to 8,000 attendees?
We had around 4,500 in year one, yes.
And so this year you've more than doubled. Every other conference I've been to seems like they're dwindling in attendance. How are you guys managing to continue to expand your attendees?
So there are two reasons why. Number one, like I said earlier, I'm not an events guy.
Yeah.
I had no plans to be in the event business, and it was not on my to-do list. But last year, when I was involved in the process of setting up the regulations and all of that, the idea came, why don't we have an event that celebrates the fact that Malta is doing what it's doing? And during that discussion, someone's like, hey, Abdallah, since you're the poster boy of tech in Malta, why don't you run this event? And me being me, I usually say yes and then try to figure out how to do things. But what I did is that since I've been speaking at a number of events for the past 10 years of my career, I always had a vision of how to create an event that combines intellectual stimulation with economic stimulation, having a very good content that is delivered on a stage, which you can see we have not spared any cost to build in order to make the wow factor, but also send the messaging through that, putting it right in the middle of the exhibition, and having the exhibition side, which is handling the economic side, the B2B, where people are actually interacting with each other, and designing it in a way to make sure that there's flow to the content side for the relevant topics of people, and then as soon as they leave, they can go and network. Also, not being an event person, we're very big into the user experience. Mainly, we don't want to maximize how much money can be made out of a space. We want everyone to be comfortable, everyone to be able to move around easily, and everyone to be able to network right. In fact, being the nerds that we are, we actually use some AI to optimize the floor plan and the flow of people and all that stuff. It's like super nerdy, so I'm not gonna get into that. But we're an event with a heart, because I assembled a great team with me. Not many of them come from the conference industry. In fact, a lot of them come from the music industry. So my mandate was like, I want to get showbiz to meet tech biz. Let's create a concert for intellectuals, if we can call it something like that. and let's just make it count. And I think it shows, and that's why the event has been quite successful. Now the second part comes to the fact that, as we said from day one, even though we're dubbed as the blockchain island and all that, from day one we said we are creating a digital innovation movement, which means AI, which means quantum, which means IoT, which means games development. So even if there's a crypto meltdown somewhere, it doesn't mean that the whole industry should go down with it, because we are looking at it from a holistic standpoint, and this is what worked. I mean, we have still an overwhelming majority of blockchain projects that are working here. We have Force, founded by Steve Wozniak, which is changing the world of energy efficiency. We have Fraction, who are tokenizing assets of real estate. We have companies that have not even created their own token, but they're still using blockchain technology. We have AI companies, we have IoT. Like on stage I had drones flying around me. So we have not kept it to that blockchains, because our understanding of the industry is more of from a bird's eye view. Like we need to look at it as a whole, not just as blockchain, not just as AI, not just as IoT. It's a digital event.
Yeah, I mean, very good diversity here with all those different innovative industries, and the booths here are fantastic. A lot of them are interactive. Some of the eSports or gaming platforms, you can actually go in and participate, like virtual gaming. Talk some more about the eSports interactions here in Malta. How much of the economy is actually made up of eSports and that kind of innovation tech?
I mean, eSports is growing quite a lot. We have PlayCon going on as a big part of Delta Summit. We have the community of gamers, but we have a number of other gamers who are actually relocating to Malta. There are a number of policy measures that are being looked at the moment to attract even more gamers and players and teams, and it's growing quite rapidly. So this year we thought was very strategic for us to have eSports as a part of Delta Summit, and to accommodate a community that previously did not have an event like this to be a part of. As you know, like it's usually late night events and hackathon style gaming or video gaming initiatives, but now it's actually showing that it's 30% of our floor plan, so it's quite massive.
So give me a little bit about your view on how blockchain tech is going to evolve and adopt, maybe even gain mass adoption over the next 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so I still think that we're still at the very, very early years of blockchain technology. Like everyone uses the same example, but it's quite accurate. Like with the internet, you had TCP/IP for 30 years. It wasn't until one great invention happened, early 90s, that catapulted the internet to another level, and that invention was the browser. The day the first browser came into existence, people were like, aha, so this is what the internet is all about. At the moment with blockchain, we still have not found our browser moment. Okay. And I think it's imminent, but it's not there yet. And with events like this, with projects like this, with intellectual stimulation like this, I think we're quite close. It may be creating blockchain-based marketplaces for tokenizing everything in existence, maybe reinventing the whole notion and concept of value, because unfortunately when you think of value, you think of money, but there is social value, there is cultural capital, things that we've never managed to capture before, and blockchain promises to be able to be a means of capturing not only your net worth, but your actual value as a person, how much positive social impact you're creating. Because if I published an academic paper that was cited by someone that ended up creating like a system that saved people's life, my social capital should go up a bit. It shouldn't be Kim Kardashian's posting a naked video, getting millions of views just because and likes, she's holding a Gucci bag and then she gets a lot of money. That's not the value we want to generate. So blockchain, because it's auditable, it's traceable, and it's accountable, it has accountability embedded in it, will be able to actually capture people's real value through their data. They'll be able to reveal different attestations of who they are depending on the application they are accessing, which means that we'll have digital identity management systems, which will mean we'll have our own sovereignty on our own data, and that will change the world. I think like 20, 30 years from now, the whole notion of data and value and money will completely change.
And before we get into your future plans, I just want you to make a comment on some more projects that you think could sprout out that help with sustainability, global sustainability? You mentioned eForce, what they're doing with electricity or energy, right?
Yeah.
So what other projects in your mind could benefit from this kind of tech to help with global sustainability?
I mean, there's a number of good projects that I can see. Like, I mean, there are like projects. For example, I've seen this project. I forgot their name, but they were like auditing the amount of trees that are being planted in a particular place, and the carbon footprint attached to that, and making sure it's like actually registered, inputted, showcased, and they have an AI system that actually would make recommendations to the city council to tell them, listen, this is what you should do, plant more trees, or make sure that the trees are actually moved from here to there. And so there are a number of projects that are happening on that at the moment. There's all this going on. I just can't think of a particular one. eForce as well is a shining example. So yeah.
And I think it's actually artificial intelligence that's closer to the mass adoption. Like you said, you're already using some form of it to help with the floor plan here.
Yeah.
So that's really what's on the cusp of changing how the world operates and becoming more efficient. Artificial intelligence. Okay. And so I know we're smack dab in the middle of the conference this year, but what are the plans for next year and the outlook going forward for the Delta Summit?
So no one can predict the future, okay? But we should have strategic foresight in order for us to anticipate trends and adapt accordingly, and set up like a strategy to be able to thrive and grow. And this is what exactly we're doing. We're monitoring the industry quite closely. We've established this year that we are a digital innovation movement here. We identified some pillars, but we're keeping an eye on other pillars or other trends that may emerge soon. It would be great to consolidate, because listen, last year we had 4,500 people, which was already a percentage of Malta's population under one roof. This year we have 10,000 people, which is more than double, and there's not enough infrastructure in the country to be able to take events of that size, which is great. I mean, it's a fantastic problem to have. It gets actually the real estate developers, cracking and trying to give us the infrastructure we're asking for. But we would always choose quality over quantity. We were never after numbers. Numbers should be a byproduct of a great offering, and this is what we're trying to do. So for me, as long as the offering is great, if the numbers stay the same, I wouldn't have any personal issue with it. If the numbers grow, it's only great, because more people will convey the positive message that we're trying to establish here.
Yeah, and hopefully we're part of that caravan that is conveying the positive message. This is an absolutely first-class conference so far. We're enjoying every minute of it. Blessed to be here. And is there any area that our visitors, our viewers, can go to learn more about Delta Summit or your efforts in general?
Totally. I mean, there's our website, Delta Summit, or delta-summit.com. Please follow me on Twitter at Dr. Kablan. We'll get a lot of updates at Delta Summit as well, Delta-Summit on Twitter. And you'll get all the updates of what we're doing. And I really enjoyed this interview with you, Ken, and with Crypto Live Leak, and keep up the phenomenal work you're doing. And we're honored to have you with us here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kablan. And this is Ken Garofalo reporting for Crypto Live Leak, live at the Delta Summit 2019. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.